Time for the latest in the world of K-Sports with our sportscaster, Jason Lee, joining us in the studio. Welcome back, Jason.
Hi, hello.
Jason. All right, Jason. In the past week, I guess the biggest sports news in Korea was Korea's loss against Cote d'Ivoire. But I suppose there were also some good news in the world of sports. Give us a preview.
I think the good news is that, well, Korea can try to forget about that loss immediately because they've got another game coming up right away against Austria tonight. So hopefully they can get some better results to forget about the 4-0 loss. Some other good news, though. Hey, it was deja vu all over again for Kim Hyo-Joo in Arizona. Plus, I'm going to recap some baseball stories from the opening weekend of the KBO.
Sounds exciting. But first, let's start with that loss against Cote d'Ivoire, 4-0.
Yeah.
What happened? And were there anything positive things that we could gather from this game?
You know, the score is pretty bad, right? 4-0, but I actually didn't think it was all that bad, all things considered. I mean, first of all, let's remember that, hey, this is just an exhibition game. So it's not like the 4-0 goal differential means anything like it would in the first round of the actual World Cup, let's say. Secondly, just looking at the lineup that Korea put out there, I mean, it was clear that Hong Myung-bo's priority wasn't really looking for a win. It was more about chemistry and audition, since guys like Son Heung-min and Lee Gang-in didn't start in the game, while Lee Jae-sung didn't play at all. There were some injury and illness issues with that, but still. Thirdly, Korea hit the right goalpost 3 times. 3 times they hit the goalpost, so clearly some bad luck responsible as well. And, you know, they really did put together some decent scoring opportunities that almost resulted in goals, which I think showed some promise. But the biggest issue, I think, and this really is an issue, is their defense played absolutely horrible, especially in the final third. And I hate to call out an individual player, but Korea's right back, Cho Yoo-min, had a terrible game. I would say, in my opinion, he was responsible for the first two goals that Korea allowed in. So a tough day for him. The third goal was because of a questionable decision by Yang Yeon-jun to try to control the ball in the box instead of just trying to, clear it out as hard as he can. And then the fourth goal was Korea overextending themselves defensively because they're trying to press hard on offense to try to get a goal before the game was over. That was pretty much right at the end of the game. But again, I mean, it's not the result that we want to see. Clearly, 4-0, it doesn't look good. But all things considered, from the surface side, I still think it really wasn't as bad as people might try to make it out to be.
Right, and we don't have time to be sad because we have a game right again tonight or early tomorrow morning, we could say, against Austria, right?
That's right. Technically speaking, it's supposed to be 3:45 tomorrow morning, so you can think of it as early tomorrow morning or late tonight, however you want to look at it. Regardless, it's going to be an uncomfortable hour for those here watching in Korea. Once again, though, this is not going to be an easy match for Korea. Austria is ranked just 3 spots behind Korea at 25th in the FIFA rankings, and they're just coming off a 5-1 win against Ghana, so they're going to be playing with a lot of confidence. And they have a bunch of top players that are based in the top European leagues, including Tottenham Hotspur center back Kevin Danso. And I should also note that another player who didn't play for Korea against the Ivory Coast was Yen Kastrop, who's nursing an ankle injury, so his absence will be missed once again in this game as well. So it's going to be a tough battle for Korea.
Not
So
going to be easy.
3:45 a.m. tomorrow morning, we could say. So what can we kind of expect from this team? What can we look out for in this game against Austria?
I think there's a lot of interesting things that we can look for leading up to the World Cup is obviously the main goal. So the first question that I'm going to be looking for is if right back Cho Yoo-min plays, and if he plays at all, whether he starts and does he even get into the game. If he doesn't and his replacement has a solid game, he might just be done for the World Cup. It might show that Hong Myung-bo's just lost confidence in him. The other player that I'm going to be watching is Yang Yeon-jun. I've mentioned that I like how he's been playing for Celtic, but he made a really big defensive mistake that led to that third goal against the Ivory Coast. And he really didn't do anything offensively, despite playing with Son Heung-min and Lee Gang-in for the most part. So if he doesn't play at all or doesn't impress in the time that he's given, I wouldn't be surprised if his role is diminished leading up to the World Cup in June, or we'll see if he's on the roster at all. So.
Oh, that sounds like those could be some harsh consequences for one bad game.
Right.
Yeah, okay, so you're absolutely right in saying that, but you have to realize that the World Cup is just 2.5 months away, and although that's, still, a good amount of time, this is the last game that Korea is going to be playing. This is the last game that they have on their schedule until their first game of the World Cup in June 12th, I think it is. So in terms of prepping up for that, they'll probably add 1 or 2 more games of exhibition contests, maybe at the end of May or the first week of June in North America in preparation. But realistically, Hong Myung-bo by then is already going to have his roster set. So in terms of looking at this game as the final game that Hong Myung-bo is going to see before he decides the final roster of people that he's going to take to North America. So this game is going to be very important tonight as to his final decision on that roster. So yeah, it is a little bit harsh that it's one bad game, but at the same time, you could say that that one bad game came at a really bad time.
Oh, yes, it is realistic world, and we don't have that much time left until the big stage at World Cup. So we want to now switch clubs to golf. You said that it's deja vu all over again for Kim Hyo-Joo, so I assume she won again?
Yeah, deja vu all over again. One of my favorite sports cliches, and yes, indeed, she did. Of course, she won last week at the Founders Cup by 1 stroke over Nelly Korda. This time, she hung on for a 2-stroke win over Nelly Korda once again. So yeah, indeed, deja vu all over again. Kim Hyo-Joo shot an opening round 11 under 61. She did it again in the 3rd round, along with a pair of 69s in rounds 2 and 4. Now, to give you an idea just how impressive that is, there were 2 other golfers who shot a round of 63. Kim Hyo-Joo shot a 61, and she did it twice. So very, very impressive. I should also point out that this is the same tournament that Kim Hyo-Joo won last year as well, the Ford Championship. So she has won this tournament back-to-back, and she's a back-to-back winner on the LPGA Tour this season. So along with Lee Mi-hyung's win at Blue Bay in China, that means Koreans have now won the last 3 LPGA events in a row after being shut out in the first 3 events. And Kim Hyo-Joo is the first repeat winner on the tour this year, and that has helped vault her atop the Player of the Year rankings now, ahead of Nelly Korda with a win and 2 second-place finishes. A couple of other Koreans I should mention in the tournament as well is Jeon In-gi, I should say, finished in 5th place with Yoon In-ah tying for 6th. And Jeon In-gi, I found this great for her, Jeon In-gi, because she disappeared for a bit. She won the U.S. Women's Open back in 2015, and then another major in winning the Evian Championship in 2016, plus the Women's PGA Championship in 2022. So it's good to see kind of her back in the hunt again after, having a lot of success early in her career, kind of disappearing for a bit more recently. And then once again, she's got a top 10 finish, her first since 2023.
Impressive results
Yes,
there.
definitely.
Really great to hear. Now, Jason, the weather is getting great, and that always means it's time for baseball. I already see a lot of people in uniforms walking around around
the subway station,
subway
and around
station
Seoul,
everywhere. Actually, not even near the stadiums, but just everywhere you go, because probably they have something before or after the game.
Yeah.
But let's talk about the KBO. So yeah, how did the weekend start off?
That's right. First weekend of the KBO is now in the books, and no surprise that the Hanwha Eagles swept the Kium Heroes in both of their games, but I would say the biggest surprise so far has been the Lotte Giants sweeping the Samsung Lions 6-3 and 6-2. Now, remember, Lotte had those 3 players that were suspended for gambling overseas during spring training, and they've missed the playoffs the last 8 years. So they're clearly expected to finish somewhere near the bottom of the standings, probably along with Kium. But to take down one of the top teams, I would say, going into this year in Samsung, I think it shows Lotte fans, hey, don't write us off just yet. I mean, their starters, Alvin Rodriguez and Jeremy Beasley, both pitched great games. So, I mean, who knows? Maybe their 2 new foreign pitchers can lead the team to some respectability this year. We'll have to wait and see. Also, the defending champs, the LG Twins, are off to an 0-2 start after being swept by the KT Wiz. Now, KT beat LG 6-5 on Sunday, and the winning run in the top of the 9th inning, that was driven in by none other than former LG Twins star Kim Hyo-Joo, who, of course, left for KT in free agency this offseason. So I'm sure that might have been a bit of a bitter pill to swallow for the defending champs. But, yeah, defending champs are off to an 0-2 start. Who would have thought that the Lotte Giants would be 2-0? But so much of the transaction from season to season, it depends on the foreigners who leave the KBO for MLB baseball, the new foreigners that come in. So, like I said, maybe Beasley, Rodriguez are able to lead Lotte to a good season.
Well, this is just the beginning. It might have been a little shocking for some teams' fans at the beginning, but everything can change in the coming weeks.
You never know. And that's why you play the long season they play here.
Right. Exactly. Well, thank you very much, Jason, for all of those updates, and see you next time.
Thank you, Jason.
And thank you, Bella. As always, we're going to have you back here on Thursday.
Yes, I'll see you back on Thursday.